I would like to start today by sharing a quote from a TED Talk given by Jane Goodall in September 2008. Here we are, arguably the most intelligent being that's ever walked planet Earth, with this extraordinary brain, yet we're destroying the only home we have. Today I'm going to inform you about the federal fishing regulatory agencies. I'm going to tell you about this because a better understanding of these regulations helps to understand the challenges that are faced with conserving and protecting the nation's natural resources. For those of you that don't know much about federal fishing regulatory agencies, I will be giving you information about the kinds of things that they regulate, such as seafood fraud, and for those of you that have more knowledge about this topic, I will be going into detail about how they regulate everything that they oversee. I am very passionate about saving the native fish populations in the Pacific Northwest and their ecosystems. I have many years of experience fishing in Idaho, working in Alaska fisheries, and researching fishing regulations on my own. I have done many hours of research regarding federal fishing regulations for my own personal knowledge and more recently for this speech. Today, I'm going to go over who regulates, why they regulate, and what they regulate. Let's start with who regulates the national fishing industry in the United States. At the highest level, the Department of Commerce oversees economic growth and opportunity. Within the Department of Commerce is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They have a division within their department, the agency that we will focus on today, the National Marine Fisheries Service. The NMFS mission begins with, NMFS is responsible for the nation's stewardship and management of the nation's living marine resources and their habitat, which you can find on their main website, nmfs.noaa.gov, last access today. Now that I have explained who is in charge of regulating the national fishing, I will tell you about what regulating the nation entails. The regions that they regulate include Alaska, the Greater Atlantic, the Pacific Islands, the Southeastern Caribbean, and the West Coast. Within those regions, they regulate the different fisheries in those areas, and within those fisheries, the NMFS focuses on sustainability and management. Bycatch is a main focus when it comes to managing fisheries. If you look at the 9 worst fisheries for bycatch, 4 out of the 9 fisheries discard more than 60% of their catch. In my time working in Alaska, I saw boats with as much as 50% bycatch, some of which can be used, but a lot of it can't. The other main area that the NMFS regulates is resources and habitats. They regulate these things because environmental intelligence can preserve and improve human and environmental health, help develop and maintain a viable national infrastructure, and promote growth while sustaining a healthy environment. This quote comes from commerce.gov, last access today. The NMFS regulates in many areas and locations in the fishing industry. Now we will look at how they regulate everything that they oversee. The last thing that we will look at is how they regulate the large regions that they oversee. The part that I find most interesting is the investigations. I recently read about an 18-month undercover investigation that resulted in not only fines, but the NMFS and special agents on the case were able to get the illegal business to stop operating altogether. You can find that article on the NMFS website under their law enforcement page. Here are a few photos of the law enforcement agency doing their jobs. Unfortunately, this isn't always the case, but the agency has other ways to ensure that people follow the laws. They also have permits and compliance laws that include seafood inspection. A large part of the National Marine Fisheries Service is law enforcement. Compliance is essential to maintaining and restoring health of living marine resources and fisheries and effective enforcement is critical to rebuilding and sustaining fishing. This quote was taken from nmfs.noaa.gov, last access today. They are able to enforce compliance by using patrols, seaboardings, and inspections. Wendell Berry said, "The earth is what we all have in common." I agree with this, and that is why I hope that this speech has helped to inform you on the National Marine Fisheries Service. And to summarize what I have just gone over, the NMFS regulates federal fishing in the United States. They regulate fisheries, natural resources, and conservation habitats. They regulate these areas using law enforcement, investigations, and compliance. In closing, I find this to be so very important because, to quote John Muir, when one tugs at a single thing in nature, he finds it's attached to the rest of the world.